What will the Seattle Mariners opening day lineup look like in 2024? Find out more in today's video. So I posted on X yesterday what my prediction for the opening day lineup would look like. And a lot of you guys seem to like it / agree with it. And there was a lot of you that said, it's only going to be a 75 win team. But the lineup that I put out there, I think can get 85 plus wins. Obviously, we're trying to get over that threshold to make sure we're in the playoffs this season. But I think having this lineup and our pitching staff could definitely make the playoffs without a doubt. One thing to take into consideration before hearing my lineup is that this is just solely my prediction. I don't necessarily want it to happen, but this is what I think is the most realistic thing to happen. So you might sit here and say you hate it, and obviously this isn't exactly how I would want the lineup to look on opening day, but this is definitely how I can see it happening. So starting off in the leadoff spot, the most obvious one there is JP Crawford. JP started hitting in the 9-hole last year and worked his way up to the top where he did a fantastic job for us. And I think he feels very comfortable in the leadoff spot. He had tons of leadoff home runs last year, which is very impressive. And I think he's only going to get better as the years progress. So I definitely see him having a very good year again this year. Hitting second is another obvious one, Julio Rodriguez. I don't think there's much to be said there. Julio pretty much speaks for himself. And then coming in at the 3-hole, I have Mitch Garver. I think Mitch Garver would be very good in the 3-hole. I'm just praying that he can play over 100 games this year. I'm hoping having him not catch as much will be less wear and tear on his body. And I think him being a high contact, high power guy, the 3-hole is perfect for him. And I think complementing that with Cal in the 4 spot right behind him would be also a nice combination because they're two very different hitters, but they both hit for power, while one is a higher strikeout and one is more contact. So I think that 1 through 4 is definitely a solid lineup to roll out for the Mariners this year. Now, in terms of the bottom of the lineup, this is where it can get a little bit tricky. So in my 5 spot, I had Isaac Paredes. I know there are a lot of Mariner fans that don't necessarily agree with trading for Isaac Paredes, but I think the guy's going to produce no matter what stadium he plays in. Maybe in terms of home runs, he won't hit as many, but I can easily see him putting up over 20 home runs and just naturally producing because that's the player he is. So, if he's hitting a few less home runs than he did last year, but he's still hitting for even higher average, I will take that. And obviously, we're going to have to give up a Miller or a Wu and maybe some prospects for him. But to me, I think he fills a big hole that we have at third base. I'm still not fully sold on Luis Urias coming in and producing. Obviously, I hope he does, but I think Isaac Paredes would kind of get that stress and throw it out the window because we know he's going to come in and produce. So in my 6th spot, this is where I was trying to be more realistic than hopeful. I had Tommy Pham or Joc Pederson. Here are their head-to-head stats from last year. As you can see, Tommy Pham had a much better year than Joc Pederson did last year. He beat him in almost every single category. And there was a bit of a toss-up between you guys over on X, whether you wanted Joc or you wanted Tommy Pham instead. I lead more towards Tommy Pham because I think he's a much better fielder than Joc Pederson is. Joc Pederson played most of his games at DH last season, while Tommy Pham obviously moves around the outfield, but can also DH at times. And if you look at their baseball savants, they're pretty similar as well. Obviously, like I said, Joc is not a very good fielder, so his fielding stats are not good. So that's one of the main reasons I lead towards Tommy Pham over Joc Pederson, and I also think we'd be able to get Tommy Pham for much cheaper. The last contract Tommy Pham signed with the Mets was only for a year and $6 million, while the last contract Joc Pederson signed was around $19 million. Which to me, I don't think Joc Pederson's worth that. Obviously, would I want them to go out and sign Cody Bellinger? Of course. But the most logical option is probably a Tommy Pham or a Joc Pederson because that's just how the Mariners roll, and we all know that. In the 7-hole, I have Ty France playing first base. I'm a firm believer Ty France will have a bounce-back year this season. And no, not just because of Driveline, but just because I think he's a very good player, and I think he's going to play with a chip on his shoulder this season. And there is a lot of talk about, possibly going to get Rhys Hoskins. Well, obviously, Rhys Hoskins is a very good player. He kind of falls under that same category as Mitch Garver in terms of will he be able to play a lot of games this season. So to me, that's a much higher risk than just having Ty France play there all year. And you don't really want to sign 2 guys this offseason who you're hoping play over 100 games. So to me, I'm totally fine just leaving Ty France out there and let him do his thing. In the 8th spot, I have Dom Canzone playing right field. I'm a firm believer that Dom Canzone deserves at least 30 to 40 games at the beginning of the year to just see what he can do. He was a great player in the minors, so I think he deserves a solid chance in the majors before kind of just getting rid of him. Or just not using him ever again, except as a platoon guy. And finally, in the 9th spot, I have Josh Rojas. I feel like this was kind of an obvious one. He's going to be playing as well as Luis Urias, hopefully, kind of platooning in that spot with him. I don't really want him at third. I think as a platoon, they'll be pretty average. Anything above average is just a win for us. So, like I said, I hope they go out and make a bigger move than this, but I do think this is the most realistic option for us fans to kind of expect, unfortunately. But I do still think this is a lineup that could make it to the playoffs this season, especially with our starting pitching. So please let me know down in the comments what you would change about this lineup or who else you hope to see possibly be in the opening day lineup. And I hope you guys did enjoy the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.